logged on to Call of Duty World War II since yesterday, you'll probably have noticed that we had a playlist update yesterday around the time of 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, to which it updated the game accordingly. But unlike what we've seen in other previous events, we don't actually have all that much waiting on the other side, or at least at the time of the update we didn't, that is. But with the Liberty Strike event winding down into its final days here, we finally have a full detailing of the days and the weekend up ahead for us. So today we're going to be talking about what the update for Call of Duty World War II Liberty Strike Week 3 really changed and what to expect both today as well as in the upcoming weekend as a result of this playlist update. So with that said, let's jump right into it. So first things first, let's start out with the stuff that did directly change as a result of the playlist update yesterday. Firstly, you'll find all of that stuff encompassed in Major Howard's and the Quartermaster with Butcher. So let's firstly talk about orders and contracts. Firstly, let's jump in with the orders with Major Howard's. We of course always see those dailies happen as is, but as for the weekly, there actually are a few repeats if I'm not mistaken in this, but these are the ones that you have now on deck as a part of this update that we got yesterday. Firstly, get 50 assists in the Cavalry Division, call in 30 streaks as the Cavalry Division, and get 350 kills in Domination. All of those will net you a rare supply drop if you complete and redeem them. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the Cavalry Division orders simply because it's an objective within an objective, essentially. You have to use one thing in order to get that, which I'm all for using the Cavalry Division, but I also like to use other weapons as well. So while I'm all for using a shield and playing objectively at some points, the majority of time since the division has released, I've been playing around with other divisions as well. So to kind of make me go back to it, not the biggest fan of, but again, it's not all that bad. Those are things that you can normally get off pretty easily. Now, as for that, again, the dailies do change. Today's weapon order, I believe, is an epic variant of the Bren, but I could be wrong on that one, but that'll change out again by the time you watch this tomorrow, perhaps even. But after that, we also see that the Freedom Fighter and the Liberty Strike Bribes are still there. They're going to be going up until the refresh of the entire game and when the Liberty Strike event ends on Tuesday, so that's something you can still grind out, potentially get up to 7, or I guess now watching it today, 6 if you didn't activate yesterday's, where there's Liberty Strike Bribes, and of course it's also still that 4 rotation of the Freedom Fighter set, so you end up with a uniform, a weapon, a helmet, and a charm bribe, I believe, and after you complete that, it'll give you a kill order daily, so that's something you can take advantage of. But as for the Liberty Strike stuff, again, coming back to this, I want to give a little pro tip with this and grinding these out. Go for as many as you possibly can, because as we know, Liberty Strike is coming to an end, and as I always say with these event bribes, make sure you save them to as close to when the event ends as possible, so you can end up, if you open rare supply drops or common supply drops outside of that, you can end up trying to chip away at anything you may have there. But whenever you go and actually want to complete these collections for Liberty Strike, one thing that I will say is that go in and buy the lower tiered items that cost very little in armory credits. In Liberty Strike, there's a bunch of items that go for 125 armory credits and up to around maybe 850 that you can knock out for cheap. Then after you buy whatever you want to set that limit for yourself of all these smaller items, buy those and then open Liberty Strike Bribes after that, so that you'll be guaranteed a dupe protected item that'll grant you those higher tier and more expensive items out of the Liberty Strike collections. So while you potentially need to buy a little bit to complete each collection, you won't be spending nearly as much because you're organically chipping away at the more expensive items via bribes. So it's a way to completely unlock everything in Liberty Strike, but for much cheaper. Wanted to toss that out for you guys if you once again are a completionist or you just want to go for any of these, but that's probably the best way to do it. Orders and pro tips out of the way, let's jump over to Butcher with the contracts. And as with a large majority of contracts, they're pretty much the same. We still have the Moonraven set of contracts, that there are 4 of them to complete. We still have our contracts pertaining to dog tags, cavalry domination captures, kills in TDM, domination, hardcore, while on the hardpoint. And if you haven't done them already, you can still get the contract for the winter and the resistance bribes for completing, I believe, 35 matches each, but that's something you can still take advantage of. But what has changed in the contracts, however, is the contract for the weekly weapon. That, of course, being this week the Nambu Type 2. This contract being for 30 hipfire kills in an hour time frame, costing you 5,000 armory credits. It's not bad for a solid weapon. Personally, I will admit the Nambu isn't my favorite weapon, but it can hold its own. It was actually, once again, talking about this a couple of times, actually developed and designed to be a direct counter to the PPSH, so that should say something of its own. But if you don't have any of the variants of it and you want to get your hands on it, it's not all that bad, and for 5,000 armory credits, it's a pretty decent deal. But as for the stuff that is starting today and going throughout the weekend, we'll start with what's on tap now. Firstly, we have the midweek mobilization. That's starting today at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So when this goes live, obviously, you can jump on and actually take advantage of that if you guys want to. But today's midweek mobilization is live until 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow and is double division XP in domination. If you still need to rank up, say, your cavalry division or any other division, it's definitely a good time to give this a go. It's not all that bad if you're not a fan of double division XP and domination in particular, because it won't be around for much longer. But that said, what does come out tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time after midweek mobilization ends is a new special order available only tomorrow on the 19th to the next day of Friday the 20th. That's when we can see a special order for completing 40 matches for a sniper bribe reward. Now, that's pretty awesome to me. As far as I know, this is going to run very similar to other different weapon bribes we've seen previously. For classification, it doesn't guarantee you a DLC variant, but instead, it's going to give you a variant that you don't have out of any of the sniper rifles. So it could be the Car 98K, it could be the Type 38, it could be the 1903, or it could be the PTRS. Any of the snipers, it could be any of those variants that you don't have, save for the ones that are event specific. You won't be getting those, unfortunately. But that said, if you end up completing 40 matches, you'll be able to get this one off, and it's very similar to the daily order of the Liberty Strike bribes. So my best suggestion here for this is just play Infected and then grind these out. You can get them done in a few hours time. But that said, that's going to be available starting tomorrow and then also going until the 20th on Friday. After that, we jump into a little bit of a two-parter for the weekend warfare. What we end up seeing for the weekend warfare designated bonus, I guess you can call that, is Party Up double XP in all multiplayer modes. That's something you can totally take advantage of if you have a friend or two that you want to jump in and run some games with. Now, on the official website that actually details this, I think there might be a typo because it says it goes from July 12th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to July 23rd at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that starts on the 20th, not the 12th, because that's not even a part of this week. That would mean this Party Up double XP started at the beginning of last week's content. So that's something that, again, is probably a little bit of a typo, but still we can see some progress coming soon for that in terms of Party Up double XP in that all weekend long. But then we also end up seeing that second part of that being the featured playlist of the Wanderlust Mosh Pit for this weekend as that featured mode. Now, it kind of sounds weird to say because it's still there right now. If you were to jump in, you can find games of Wanderlust, but for whatever reason, it's the mode that they're planning to show off over the weekend, plus it's also live right now. So kind of ties in currently, but also with Weekend Warfare is what they're detailing as the game mode for that. But that's going to be available until Tuesday, July 24th, aka the day that Liberty Strike ends, as well as the rest of this kind of stuff. So that's one thing to bear in mind, that if you enjoyed this game mode, play it while you have the chance, because in a couple of days, it's going to be gone. But the final thing to note of the Week 3 content for Liberty Strike is that of the community challenge. Probably one of the biggest things that I personally am interested in, and I hope that you guys are as well. But currently, I couldn't tell you exactly where we're at. We're probably very close to tier 4 completing that. But myself and I think a lot of other people in the community are having issues with the news tab where it still doesn't have the tracker available for anybody to see, which is unfortunate. So again, I can't give you the accurate number right now as of where we're at the time of this video going live, but I would assume the way that we ended up seeing the 1911 unlock a couple of days ago that we're very close to that Fez special helmet. But here's where it gets a little bit tricky. We're coming up to the end of that event, obviously, but we still have one tier and another one after that to complete. So probably somewhere in the realms of 60 million multiplayer matches to complete by Tuesday. So 6 days, can we do it? It is possible, I think, but we're definitely gonna need to grind out some games over the weekend. So as I've said the entire time that we've talked about this community challenge, the biggest thing and the biggest help in my mind is playing Infected. You can grind out 2, 3, sometimes maybe even 4 games compared to when you can at the longest points for a domination match or something similar. So by doing that and completing matches overall, that's obviously gonna help the community contract out a lot. So this weekend in particular, spread the word, get your friends on, play some Infected, grind this out so that we all can get that final tier of not only the Fez helmet for tier 4, but also the M1 Independent 2 heroic variant for that. The weapon looks absolutely fantastic. We've been talking about it for absolute ages, and who knows, maybe we end up getting some artificial help from Sledge boosting the numbers a little bit, or maybe it is something we don't complete it after all, but that is the only chance we have to get the M1 Independent 2 variant. So myself, I know I'm definitely gonna be playing a ton of that over the next couple of days, so make sure you guys get grinding grinding as well, but that is going to conclude after this week as well. So the final week now also holds the final few steps for the community challenge. But that said, that is really all that the week 3 content update gave us here for World War II. Again, not necessarily anything as flashy as what we normally see with other week events and updates in other seasonal community events that we've seen previously, but it is something that we still have quite a bit to play around with, but maybe not as grand a scale as what we've seen in the past couple of months. But that said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Is there anything in particular you are hoping to see, anything you're looking forward to out of this weekend? Are you guys looking forward to hopefully getting your hands on the M1 Independent 2 Heroic variant? I know I personally am, but whatever it may be, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. If you guys did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel and want to stay up to date with all things Call of Duty, World War II, Black Ops 4, all that good stuff, we got you covered here on the channel. So if any of that interests you, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. And also, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that's the best place to get character commands out of YouTube. Practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. And finally, if you guys want to follow me over on Instagram as well, get a little more active over there, so that link is also in the description below for you guys to toss a follow if you guys are willing. But all that said and out of the way, thank you all so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic day. Take care and peace.